Okay. If you are watching this, you are either a random person on YouTube scrolling through that just so happened to found me. If you are that person, hello, I am very sorry that this is the video that you have came upon. Or, on the more likely end, you are reading my manifesto right now. In that case, one, thank you for reading it, for entertaining me for these. By that point, man, you're on like page 170. Good job. But I'll get to the point. If you're reading this, you are here for the indictments. I said that I would go over the indictments on my YouTube channel, and I linked them in the bibliography. Of course, you already know that, but you know. So, here we go. I will go over each of the Donald Trump indictments, going over one, the sources I used, which they'll all be the same, except for maybe one, depends. 2, the background, everything before the indictment itself. The charges, basically the actual indictment, everything within it are the charges. Of that, we will go through all the statutes, the legal maneuvering, all that stuff involved, so to make it simple, easy for everyone to understand. Then, the post-indictment releasing, everything after the indictment, any motions within the court cases, reactions by both sides, yada yada yada. And then finally, conclusions and final statements, basically wrapping it all up, what the main arguments are going to be for the indictment and the case, and any latest things that have happened in relation to the indictment or the case that is going on. So, we got the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump, in classic terms, commoner terms, I should say. And that is the Stormy Daniels case. Next, we will do the United States of America v. Donald J. Trump, Martin Nada, and Carlos D. Oliveira. In common terms, that is the classified documents case in Florida. Next, we have the United States of America v. Donald J. Trump. That is over January 6th, and election interference at the national level by Jack Smith. And then finally, we have the state of Georgia v. Donald John Trump and co-conspirators. That is the Georgia RICO indictment. So now that we got all that out of the way, we will start with the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump. My sources that I have used for this are the New York indictment itself and the corresponding Wikipedia page. Do not insult me for having Wikipedia as a source, okay? It's perfectly fine, especially when you need to know more info on the background and the post-indictment. Shut up, okay? It's not like it determines your opinions on this, okay? Your opinion should be determined on the indictment itself and everything laid out within that, okay? Don't come at me. But now that we got that out of the way, the background. And just so you know, we will be here for a long time. I will be splitting each of these indictments up into individual videos, so you won't have to worry about that one. I will, because I should be doing this in a one-time span. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, the background. The Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump scandal. This is how it all began. In July 2006, Stormy Daniels, an American porn star, met Trump, who was then married to Melania. You know her. She is Donald Trump's current wife, who had their son, Barron. You also know him. He recently turned 18. 4 months prior, at a golf tournament in Nevada. Daniels claims Trump invited her to his penthouse at Harris Lake, Tahoe, where they had sex. Not very good for Trump, but hey, we'll see. Daniels considered selling the story to Life and Style magazine for $15,000 as Trump began exploring a bid for president. So, Daniels trying to get her money in on a scandal? Sure. Cohen, also known as Michael Cohen, you might know him, you might not. Basically, he was Trump's big lawyer guy who kind of helped Trump with a lot of his cases. You might also know him for stuff related to Russia. We will get to that later on in the manifesto, or I've already talked about in the manifesto. Not sure which one it is at this point. But regardless, Michael Cohen, all you need to know is that at this time, he was basically Trump's lawyer. Personal lawyer, not White House, of course. So Cohen, Trump's lawyer at the time, threatened Life and Style with a lawsuit when they asked the Trump Organization for comment. Gina Rodriguez, Daniels' agent, leaked the story to a gossip blog named The Dirty in October. but was taken down after complaints from Trump's lawyers. Daniels, however, denied the story after the leak, which would lead to doubt in it when she'd later take it to court. This will be useful later on, so keep that in mind. As Trump's campaign began, Rodriguez approached many publications to pick up the story, with the National Enquirer accepting. The National Enquirer, however, sought to suppress the story, and instead of paying Daniels, the editor-in-chief of the company, Dylan Howard, negotiated a $130,000 NDA between Daniels and Cohen. Basically, in exchange for $130,000, Daniels would stay silent, the story would not get out. Everyone wins. Cohen attempted to find the money for Daniels' payment and repeatedly delayed it, causing Daniels' lawyer, Keith Davidson, to cancel the deal in October of 2016, as he realized Cohen's work to cover up the story could be revealed. So basically, you went from a basic cheating scandal to now a cheating scandal trying to be covered up by Donald Trump and his lawyers, which could get to the level of criminality. So, good job, Donald. You just got yourself a way bigger scandal. Eventually, Cohen drew the money from his home equity line of credit and sent it through a shell company incorporated in Delaware. Trump initially denied knowing about the check, and in April 2018, aboard Air Force One, he told a reporter he didn't know where Cohen got the money. Giuliani, Trump's attorney, you might know him, Rudy Giuliani. He was the mayor of New York for a while there. He has now been disgraced and disbarred over his role in January 6th. We will get to that when we talk about the Jack Smith indictment over January 6th and the Georgia RICO indictment. But that's for later. What was I on? Oh yeah, he told a reporter he didn't. Giuliani, Trump's attorney, refuted the claims on Fox and said Trump knew of the payments. So, thanks a lot, Giuliani. So, then, Trump wrote several checks totaling $420,000 to Cohen, reimbursing him for the NDA, covering the cost for Cohen to manipulate the online polls to boost Trump's status. The $180K paid was doubled to cover taxes, obviously, and another $60K was added with the payment occurring throughout 2017 during Trump's first year as president. The payments were declared legal expenses, and, if this was misleading, as it certainly seems so, it would constitute a misdemeanor under New York law and falsifying business records to cover up a crime, as mentioned, is a Class C felony. So, not very good. You can't pay someone for paying off someone else and label it as legal expenses because they are not legal expenses. But that is neither here nor there, so onto the Manhattan grand jury investigation. You might not know this, but before the indictment, there was a grand jury investigation over these payments. So, the Manhattan grand jury investigation. I will be eating these throughout the entirety. Some York peppermints. Very good. Oh. Can you tell that this is very scuffed? Okay. Manhattan grand jury investigation. In January 2018, the Wall Street Journal reported on Cohen's payments to Daniels, and Cohen pled guilty to 8 criminal counts relating to the payment, as well to a payment towards McDougal, another person alleged to have had an affair with Trump. Blah, blah, blah. We won't have to get into that. During his admission of guilt in August, he implicated Trump, stating he acted, quote, at the direction of a candidate for federal office. I wonder who that could be. In December, Cohen was sentenced to 3 years of prison. Sucks to suck. After Cohen's admission, the Manhattan DA opened an investigation into the Trump org and 2 of its executives, but paused it once the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, SDNY, began a separate investigation into the payments, with Vance saying the SDNY told him to stand down, and he complied. Not J.D. Vance. I know, kind of confusing. So, in July of 2019, SDNY prosecutors said they concluded the inquiry and signaled Trump wouldn't be charged. Though, a Justice Department policy prevents the indictment of the sitting president, so it's unclear whether this was an evidence or a statute issue. We will probably never know. Then, Manhattan's DA's office subpoenaed the Trump org in August, seeking documents related to the payments. Additionally, they subpoenaed accounting from Mazars USA. You probably heard of them back in the other sections of my manifesto. Unless I remove them, who knows. Demanding 8 years of Trump's corporate tax returns. Vance was sued by Trump's lawyers to stop the subpoena by citing Trump's immunity from criminal inquiries as president. But in the Supreme Court case, Trump v. Vance, the court ruled 7-2 in favor of Vance, allowing the subpoena to continue. You can probably imagine who those two are that voted no. In December 2020, Manhattan began investigating employees of Deutsche Bank and insurance brokerage Aon, with the Supreme Court again ruling the Manhattan DA's office could obtain Trump's tax records, with them doing so. The DA's office proceeded to focus its attention on the CFO of the Trump org, Alan Weisselberg. Weisselberg? Sounds German. And charged the Trump org with running a tax scheme in July. After Bragg, you've probably heard of him, succeeded Vance as the Manhattan DA post-election, Bragg's prosecutors leading the investigation, Mark Pomerantz and Kerry Doon, resigned due to Bragg's apparent lack of aggressiveness in pursuing charges against Trump, though Bragg continued the investigation after their resignation. So, there was a big thing over Bragg and overall leftist attorneys, like Fani Willis, Bragg, Jack Smith, Letitia James, blah blah blah, over their seemingly targeted going after, targeted something of Trump. They go after Trump, they give him the hardest things, they look into every nook and cranny of his life. But this kind of goes in the other way of that. Why wouldn't Bragg be doing enough to the point where these prosecutors that led the investigation would leave? Why would they leave? Well, maybe it's just the fact that Bragg actually wasn't doing enough in their eyes. Maybe they're just lying. Maybe it's all part of the leftist cabal, and I'm just crazy for believing them. But who knows? I think it's probably just another point to show that, no, this is not a leftist witch hunt. That is the term that I was looking for. It's not a witch hunt. There have been internal fractioning over this before, so it's not exactly weird to see that Bragg is going a bit harsher now, because in the past, people left because he wasn't going harsh enough. Ignoring all that. In January 2023, the Manhattan DA's office impaneled a 23-person grand jury and began presenting evidence of Trump's role in Stormy's payments. The jury typically met on Monday and Wednesdays, hearing evidence for 2 months before the indictment, and in March of that year, prosecutors signaled an indictment was likely. For 3 months before the grand jury voted on indictment, on March 30th, an unnamed witness testified. After the indictment was agreed upon and released, Trump proceeded to insult Bragg multiple times, including insinuating he was, quote, an American-hating degenerate psychopath, and called him an, quote, animal. I could say something about that, but, I feel like the quote stands for itself. So that's all the background. Now, the big boy, the indictment itself. This one, I will tell you, is way shorter than the other ones, mostly due to the counts being basically the same thing, broken up into 3 sections. I'll get into that. So, we have 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree in violation of penal law, subsection 175.10. I believe that's subsection. Quote, a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and when his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. So, Count 1. Trump in the county of New York and elsewhere on or about February 14, 2017, with intent to commit another crime and aid and conceal the commission thereof, made and caused a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, to wit, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated February 14th, 2017, marked as a record for DJT Revocable Trust and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 2. An entry in the detailed general ledger for the DJT Revocable Trust, hearing voucher number 842457, and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 3. An entry in the detailed general ledger for the DJT Revocable Trust, hearing voucher number 842460, and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 4. a DJT revocable trust account check and check stub dated February 14th, 2017, bearing check number 000138 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 5, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated February 16th, 2017, and transmitted on or about March 16th, 2017, marked as a record of the DJT revocable trust and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 6, an entry in the detailed general ledger for the DJT revocable trust, hearing voucher number 846907, and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 7, a DJT revocable trust account, check and check stub dated March 17th, 2017, bearing check number 000147 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 8, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated April 13, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 9, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 858770 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 10, a DJT account check and check stub dated June 19, 2017, bearing check number 002740 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 11, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated May 22, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 12, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 855331 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 13, a DJT account check and check stub dated May 23, 2017, bearing check number 002700 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 14, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated June 16, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 15, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 858772 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 16, a DJT account check and check stub dated June 19, 2017, bearing check number 002741 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 17, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated July 11, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 18, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 861096 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 19, a DJT account check and check stub dated July 11, 2017, bearing check number 002781 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 20, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated August 1, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 21, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 863641 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 22, a DJT account check and check stub dated August 1st, 2017, bearing check number 002821 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 23, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated September 11, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 24, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT bearing voucher number 868174 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 25, a DJT account check and check stub dated September 12, 2017, bearing check number 002908 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 26, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated October 18, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 27, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 872654 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 28, a DJT account check and check stub dated October 18, 2017, bearing check number 002944 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 29, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated November 20, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 30, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 876511 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 31, a DJT account check and check stub dated November 21st, 2017, bearing check number 002980 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 32, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated December 1st, 2017, marked as a record of DJT and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 33, an entry in the detailed general ledger for DJT, bearing voucher number 877785 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. Count 34, a DJT account check and check stub dated December 5th, 2017, bearing check number 003006 and kept and maintained by the Trump org. That, we're finally done. Okay, summary. For anyone who just heard a bunch of words like check stub and revocable trust way too many times. Trump allegedly falsified business records of his enterprises 34 times in order to weight assumptions to 3 categories. Invoices from Cohen marked as a record for the DJT Revocable Trust and maintained by the Trump Org. Invoices from Cohen maintained by the Trump Org, and check/check stubs kept and maintained by the Trump Org. All of these involved in some degree repayments made towards Cohen after Cohen paid Stormy Daniels $130K to allegedly stay silent about having an affair with Trump as did not hurt his presidential run. TLDR, Trump said the payments towards Cohen were legal fees when they were repayments for Cohen paying Stormy, aka falsifying business records. Now this crime alone doesn't meet the evidence needed to prove Trump broke penal law subsection 175.10. For this to be true, this all has to be in service, aid, or concealment of another crime that has yet to be released. So, there's all that. That's the charges. Post-indictment leasing. Awkwardly enough, this is probably bigger than the actual charges itself. Todd Blanche, a lawyer that defended Manafort in his 2016 fraud trial. Paul Manafort, you probably heard about him with Russia. I talk about that in the Manifesto. Had recently resigned from his law firm to aid Trump in this case. Acting New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan will preside over the case, and the media was limited to still photography and drawing of the incident after Juan denied a request for broadcasting of electronic devices being used. Trump pled not guilty to all the charges, and after the indictment's release, went to Mar-a-Lago to speak to a group of supporters where he proceeded to spout falsities involving his classified docs case, George Soros, and the Raffensperger call. Once again, Trump being Trump, During the arraignment, a deadline to file pre-trial motions was set on August 8, 2023, and a motion to dismiss was all but expected by the Trump side. In May 2023, Trump filed a motion to move the New York case to federal court, with his lawyers claiming the case, quote, involves important federal questions, and argued the case deals with conduct performed in office and therefore could only be tried in federal court. In response, federal judge Alvin Hellerstein set the hearing on the motion for June 27, 2023, and ruled proceedings could continue until then. On July 19th, though, Hellerstein predictably rejected Trump's motion, and even if Trump succeeded, New York law would still apply. The prosecution was worried Trump would use evidence from discovery to attack members of the case and witnesses. Even so, Merchan denied placing a gag order on Trump, but set a meeting with Trump to discuss rules pertaining to the use of social media as it pertained to the case. On March 26, Judge Merchan issued a gag order on Trump, preventing him from talking about those involved in the hush money trial, including potential jurors / witnesses, court staff, etc. Jeez, I am just slurring so much. I've never talked this much. Unless dismissed, the trial will supposedly start on March 25th of this year. We already know the answer to that. Cohen is expected to be a key witness, as all charges pertain to payments made towards him. Cohen had previously pleaded guilty to breaking campaign finance law in the 2016 campaign for payments towards Daniels, and testified Trump ordered the payments, basically. Trump, within a separate legal action, sued Cohen for $500 million in damages for breach of contract. So, very nice of him. In ABC News, Ipsos conducted a poll from April 6th to 7th showed an increase compared to an earlier poll of Americans that believe Trump should be charged, 50% compared to 45%. The same poll showed this massively raised among Americans with no party preference, from 40% up to 54%, while also 53% of Americans think Trump intentionally did something illegal. The poll was still split by party, with 87% of Dems, 57% of Independents, and 19% of Republicans in favor of the indictment. Kind of nice that at least 1/5 of Republicans are in favor of the indictment. So, there's still some saving for some. Many high Republicans criticized the indictment and went as far to call it illegal and brag brought by Soros. We'll get into that. Those Republicans include Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan from my great state of Ohio. God, do we love him, don't we? McCarthy, Vivek, as the guy that lost as president-elect. Potential president-elect. DeSantis, you will know him as the Florida governor, and also loser as potential president-elect. Nikki Haley, she used to be the U.S. ambassador for the UN, something to do with the UN, and also loser to be president-elect. Lindsey Graham, he does the House stuff. I think he's the head of the House, if I'm not wrong. James Comer, He's a crazy house guy. Ron Johnson, crazy house guy. J.D. Vance, current vice president for Donald J. Trump, and overall wacky guy. Greg Abbott, you know him as the Texas guy, and others. Democrats have said the indictment is simply holding Trump accountable for his crimes, which it is. Meanwhile, the Biden admin says they won't take part in public discourse. The legal challenges to the indictment include a couple issues. The combination of business record charges and state election laws with the federal campaign is unprecedented. The legal issues could be used to get the case dismissed. The federal cases have been called stronger and better than this indictment, and the underlying crime linked to all the charges that boost them to a first degree has yet to be released, leading to questions on the legal merits of this case. I mean, yeah, the federal ones are obviously stronger, but that's to be expected. Like 97% of federal indictments go through and win in some way, shape, or form. But we were wrong on this. It turns out this case was very strong. Leading us to the conclusion and final statements. The indictment's main evidence was the testimonies of Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels within the court case, and will be the point of contention between the prosecutorial and defendatory sides. If the prosecution can get Cohen to testify under oath to everything they're claiming and have Daniels' story align with it, then other than legal theory-wise, it'll be an all but open and shut case. Which it was. For this reason, though, conservatives will seek to discredit this at all points possible, and they still do. Conservatives' main arguments include a couple things. We'll start from insane and go to just crazy. Okay, moderating a bit, you know. Conservatives' weakest contentions, mostly because of how irrelevant and unprovable they are the claims of Bragg being source-funded to go after Trump and the whole deep state narrative, blah blah blah. Here's their evidence. George Soros was one of multiple donors to a progressive criminal justice reform group called Color of Change. This group would go on to contribute to a couple of campaigns, including Bragg's. Soros also had no contact with Bragg ever. That's it. Like, actually. Good part to go on conservatives and the Manifesto. Thank you, past me, for that. But I will. This is just another thing that conservatives like to do. You know, they find one minor thing. George Soros donating to a donor group, a reform group, I should say, who then donated to Bragg, Jesus. Soros donating to a reform group who also donated some money to Bragg does not mean that Bragg is bought by Soros. That is not what evidence is. That is not what proof is. That is not what anything is. Honestly, it's just another conspiracy. Add it on the list. You know, what are we at? Like 75 by now? I don't know. I stopped keeping track after 50. But on to something, you know, a tad more concrete. Not really. Conservatives' next claim is how much of an overreach of authority this is from Bragg. Of course, this is about as weak as the last point, with the only thing boosting it being that it's not a foreign conspiracy. So, you know, you get bonus points for that one. The claim is Bragg is out of line with his investigation, trial, indictment, all of it. This, of course, isn't true in any way. A DA in their office has every right to initiate investigations into those they have reasonable belief committed crimes, and especially when they start finding evidence and have direct witness testimony lined up. Closest conservatives get with this is the presidential immunity claim and combination of certain campaign finance stuff with other laws. Luckily, though, being president doesn't exude Trump from the crimes committed during that period, and since he's a private citizen, there's no laws restricting how far the DA's office can go. Also, the law is weird here, but that's why there's a jury to decide, you know. Finally, probably the best point, you know. I could see some independents being swayed by this, you know, until you actually learn everything. Conservatives' best point is to just discount Cohen and Daniels. If they can do that, they can discount the whole indictment. They tried to, still doesn't work. I'll explain why. Starting with Cohen, conservatives claim he's untrustworthy on the stand, as he's already quite famously, as we already mentioned, committed perjury in the past. I talked about this in my manifesto, but I'll just bring it up again. Cohen committed perjury by lying to the Senate and House Intelligence Committees regarding a Trump Tower project in Moscow, which he said he did to be consistent with Trump's want to be disconnected from political and business ties to Russia, and overall keep the loyalty thing up. Now, this is bad. I am not saying that Cohen was okay for perjuring himself. Perjuring is indeed bad, but we just saw why he did this, and it's easily solvable in the trial, which it was. Just have other witnesses that can corroborate. Given this involves Trump Org and EJT Revocable Trust, who both employees have been mentioned within the indictment, they can easily, and did, have them set to corroborate. Once you include Daniels, the only claim is it's all perjury, which goes to deep state, and we already dismissed this. But a bit more already. Just have a bunch of people on the stand, hey, this is true, we corroborate. Unless you believe in deep state, that's enough. But you also have to bring up Cohen lied for Trump. It's not like Cohen lied against Trump. Now, if that was the case, that could be a bit more worrying. But Cohen lied for Trump. He lied to protect Trump. He lied to benefit Trump. The fact that this would say anything about this makes no sense. If anything, it would prove that Cohen is more untrustworthy and biased towards Trump, not away from him. But, conservatives pick and choose what they want and stretch the truth as far as they can until they get a ball of whatever they consider to be reality. What about Daniels herself, though? The big thing with her is she denied the story way back when it was first leaked by Daniels' agent, and Daniels has essentially already done this case and lost. Now, the first part is way easier to dismiss with a couple ways. Daniels wanted a major publication to release it, so we get more news. Daniels was still nervous about releasing the story, or Daniels was not notified or alerted about this leak by her agent. All of these can explain the initial dismissal of the case. Either one of these is very likely Daniels' experience or a combination of all three, leading to her saying, no, this did actually not happen. The most likely, she just didn't want to get blasted for it, But hey, okay, what about the more important thing? That she's already done this case and lost. Is that true? The most important thing, though, is Daniels losing her other trials involving this. Now, I'm kind of lying here. Daniels only really lost one trial. The first was Daniels arguing the NDA that she had been brokered by the National Enquirer guy way back then, that Cohen agreed to pay $130K, blah, blah, blah. She won that by arguing that the NDA was invalid, but it was dismissed after Trump and Cohen agreed to not enforce it, and the California court had Trump pay her legal bills. The second was a lawsuit where Daniels claimed Trump defamed her, of which she lost and had to pay $300K of legal fees and court sanctions. The third was Daniels claiming Cohen colluded with Davidson, a previous attorney, against her interest when negotiating the initial hush money payment was made. This was settled out of court, and Trump wasn't a defendant. So, we got a lost defamation case, a one invalid NDA case, and an outside settled legal interest lawsuit that didn't even include Trump. So, considering the lost case doesn't deal with what we're dealing with here, it deals with defamation, not falsifying business records, any of that. The most important case was the NDA, because if Cohen did do that, made us sign the NDA, we know he did, then you get into the payments, which means the repayments, which means the falsifying business records, yada, yada, yada. The third case is settled, and Daniels won the most important NDA case. So overall, considering it also be different crimes, this truly doesn't matter. And it doesn't. So to wrap it all up, the trial has now concluded. Trump has been charged on all 34 counts. The sentencing was set for July 11th. Then now, November 26th, post-election due to postponement and election interference, or whatever the judge claimed and whatever conservatives claim most benefits them, because they do not give a damn about the law and they never will. So, that was the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump. I hope you learned something about this, maybe gained a bit more faith in brag, maybe lost a bit more faith in conservatives. It's not hard to do, But hey, that was that case. And now, I hope you also join me for the United States of America v. Donald J. Trump, Walter Nader, and Carlos T. Oliveira. See you next time.